while I'm sad. You've been out all night, know you've been bad. Don't tell me different, know it's a lie. Come to me, honey, see how I cry.
Hello, and welcome to the Recovery Show with Bernie Z, that's me. Today, let's talk about Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us to understand, for us, and the power to carry that out. For an addict, that's a tough call. To be able to only have the ability to, or the knowledge and will to carry something out, as opposed to the downright requirement to carry it out. Because a requirement to carry it out is far different than having the will to carry it out. A requirement to carry it out is far more than the knowledge. Because we can know something and not carry it out. We can have the will to carry it out and carry it out. But if we don't have the will, we aren't going to carry it out. Now, the requirement to carry it out is something we carry ourselves. Because once we get that will and that desire and that knowledge, then we want to carry it out. And that's a big difference between somebody telling you you have to do it and you wanting to do it. That's part of the reason for these videos that I've been doing, is to remember that I've been considering what do I need to do to help people understand. Now, I've written books. I've written How to Win as a High Roller While Losing Your Shirt, which takes people, both addict and non-addict, through the process of looking at addiction differently. But that wasn't something that I did because I had to. It's something that I did because I came to understand. I took the education I had and looked at things differently. And by doing so, it gave me the knowledge. Now, after that, it gave me the will to share what I learned. And that's part of the group process too, which we'll get into that with the 12 steps of unity, or the 12 unity steps, because you've got to have that will to carry it out. If you have the will to carry it out, it's because you care about recovery. You care not only about recovery for you, but for others, because what you share from what you're experiencing, which is something I really want people to start thinking about, is sharing that with others. They may not understand, but it's not about whether they understand or not. It's whether you can tell them what you have experienced and give them that knowledge of your personal experience, because everybody's different in the way that they go through their addiction. For me, scratch off tickets. For another person, alcoholism. For another person, drugs. For another person, the roulette table. For another person, it's poker. But everybody has a different thing that really kind of takes over their life. And for people to understand where you're coming from in recovery, knowing that you have had that take over your life, is a big step. And that's where we're at step 11. We've been doing these other steps, and every step after number 3 is one that may not come in the same order. For me, step 11 was rather clear early on. I started writing because I wanted to understand better. I had a background in mental health. I had been working with recovery groups for dual diagnosis, people with mental illness and an addiction. And these are things that really change the perspective. When you realize you had an addiction and know that there's a mental health issue, which I do have diagnosis of major depression / bipolar in some cases. I also have ADHD and other things that play into it. But the thing is, I got to working on understanding my addiction. And by doing so, I started to understand the addiction process in a generalist perspective, seeing that addiction is more of a thing where it can't stop. And that gave me the will, after understanding that and after learning that, it gave me the will to carry out the idea of sharing that message with others. And that's where we're going to be going into with the last step. This feeds right into it. You have to have that knowledge and that will in order to build upon what you've experienced and what you're experiencing in recovery. Because it's so much different between recovery and the addiction. Because in addiction, you're trying to avoid everything. In recovery, you face things head on. You don't always do well facing them head on, but you face them head on. And that's the beginning steps of showing that you care about other people and wanting to get the message out. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a good day, and we will talk again soon. Thank you.